All right, we should be recording now. All right, so syllables and word stress. You're familiar with syllables, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, so we're going to learn how English forms their syllables. They are a little different than Spanish. We can chunk a bunch of consonants together, whereas in Spanish you like a vowel and consonant symbiosis. You like to have them pretty even. We don't do that. We'll chunk 3, even 4 consonants together and it's still part of one syllable. So that can be very challenging for a lot of people. And then we're going to talk about word stress, where to put the stress in your words. So we're going to start with vocab. We're going to review our 8 vocab words that we're going to be studying this week. We're going to talk about syllabification, which is how we make syllables, and then word stress, and then we're going to do a bit of practice. So let's start. These are our 8 words. You should be probably familiar with most of them. Author, final, illustrate, individual, label, physical, publish, and text. Are there any words in this list that you are not familiar with?
No.
No, very good. Well, we're going to start by using their functions to shift between parts of speech. So from nouns to verbs, to adjectives, and to adverbs, and to see how comfortable you are identifying a word's part of speech. So let's start with final. Which part of speech is that?
It's I will say it's a noun.
So now we can have a final, like if it's a test that we're taking, a final test, we can call that a final, but that's a substantive adjective at that point, substantivo. So it's actually still an adjective functioning as a noun in that case. Final, we're going to leave as an adjective.
Okay.
Meaning the very last in a sequence. How about finals with an S?
I will say noun because you put an S, so that implies it's a noun.
Exactly. And that's exactly what we're going to look at as the definition of a noun is a word that can be plural or singular. Yeah. So yes, finals is a noun. How about label? The
same, I will say is a noun because we say the label or a label. So we can put an article.
Very good. Very good. Label, yes, it's a noun, but it actually can also function as another one. We can have 2 options here.
Oh, you can put 2 label, like in the verb, put a name to something. You can use as a
so
verb.
Label can be both a noun and a verb, depending on how we use it in the sentence. How about physical?
So where that comes to my mind is physical condition. So there will be an adjective because it's giving a qualification for condition. What kind of condition?
Perfect. Yes, it is an adjective. How about physically?
Will be an adverb just because the ending, and in Spanish it's going to complement a verb. So that is why we call adverb. Physically, finally, individually, I will put them all in the same category.
Perfect. Yes, that ly is a very good indicator that it's an adverb. How about labeling?
So it's a form of eng. So we could be part of a verb like I'm labeling, or gerundio could be, yeah, I will say a verb.
Yeah, it comes from a verb. We call these verbal adjectives, present participle. So it starts with a verb and it becomes an adjective, or you're right, we can use it as a gerund and it can be a noun. So labeling is a fun activity. In this case, it's a noun. Yeah, or the labeling machine is broken. In this case, it's an adjective. How about individual?
I will say it's a noun because we can say the individual with an article, so that will tell us that it's a noun.
Yeah, so an individual can represent a single person. We have 2 options again with this one. We can have an individual wrapped egg.
Okay, so it
In
will
that
be
case,
an adjective there.
an adjective there, right? So this one again has two options. So you can see sometimes in English, just like in Spanish, it can go into a few different categories. How about finalize?
It's a verb.
It is a verb. Yep, that IZE or ISE ending is usually, it's a morpheme that tells us that we're making something happen. So finalize is to make finished. So that's a verb. How about labeled?
So could be a past for a verb, but also work as adjective, the same way that labeling depend on the context.
Perfect. Yes, exactly. It is both a verb and an adjective. How about last one, physics?
I will say none because the S indicate that has plural and singular.
Very good. Yes, that S tells us that this is a noun. The S can be tricky sometimes because it's also third person singular for a verb.
Yeah.
So you have to know whether it starts as a noun or starts as a verb. And sometimes if it's both, like label, if you have labels, it can be two labels or it can be she labels something. So in that case, it's based on context in the sentence. All right, so we're doing pretty good with those. I didn't see anything that we had trouble with. So these will be our eight words that we're going to study this week. And we're going to try to use those when we're writing an essay. All right, so let's jump into syllables. And I've got a little definition here. Could you read this for me?
A syllable is a piece of a word which contains a vowel and often a few consonants. But the vowel is the most important part. There can be a consonant before, after, of, or before and after the syllable vowel.
Very good. So you can see off to the left here, I've got CVC. That's our consonant vowel consonant. And this is a basic form for a syllable. The consonants can appear or disappear. They can also double up or triple up. So the consonants will be tricky, but if you focus on the vowel, it can be more easy to discover where the syllable begins and ends. A syllable can also contain just a vowel with no consonants. So sometimes that can cause us some trouble because we have diphthongs, which are two vowels that come together to make one sound. And we also have just two vowels which don't come together. So we have to be careful and observe the way that other people speak these so that you can adapt that for yourself. So we're going to start with these 3 or 6 words here. We've got text, author, label, illustrate, orange, and grammar. And we're going to just observe a few things about how they syllabify. So starting with text, we can see it's all based around this vowel, this E. We've got a consonant before and then 2 consonants after. This XT forms a single consonant pair. So it still functions as a CVC here, but with 2 consonants. Author, however, has a little more challenge to it because this AU forms a single sound. On its own, it looks like ow, but together in the word, it's like a hollow O, ah sound. So an author, and that TH forms a single consonant pair again. So we've got a consonant or a syllable of just a diphthong, and then a syllable of consonant, vowel, consonant. Down below, we've got label. We've got a consonant and a vowel, but it breaks off after this vowel, and we've got bell. The A is often a stronger vowel than the E. So if I've got a consonant between an A and an E, it's often going to go with that B to help, or with the E to help the E be a little stronger. So we've got label, label. All right, illustrate, a 3-syllable word, illustrate. When we've got double consonants, 2 of the same consonant, it breaks in half when we syllabify. If you look at the last one, grammar, it does the same thing. two of the same consonants are almost never in the same syllable. They like to divide to go to the other vowels. So we've got illustrate. Straight is a challenging looking syllable. We've got three consonants right together, that STR. It might be tempting to put the S with the U, but that STR sound likes to stay together, especially the ST likes to be together. So if you see an S and a T together, often they'll stay in the same consonant pair. And then that E at the end, we don't want to give that its own syllable because it's a silent E. It makes the A a long A. So instead of straight, it's straight because of the E. So be careful with silent E's. And then orange. Again, you might want to put the R with the O, but O is a stronger vowel than A. So O can be alone, the A is going to attract that R. So here, orange, and that E is silent again. And then grammar. This one is probably the easiest to syllabify here because there's no other vowel for the G to go to. It's going to stick with that R. Grammar, split right between the consonants. All right, so we're going to practice and we'll work through some of these together. We've got 12 words here. And our first one is description. So how many syllables do you hear when you hear the word description?
3.
3. Can you tell me where they break?
So according what you just say, I will put D and then a script like one because it's like the T, ST, SC. I guess that, I don't know why my mind think now that should be, in Spanish we will put des and then cryption, but just because what you explained, I will say is the S go more with the C, and then the N word will be a diphthong.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, very good. So the D is on its own, and that script, again, like you said, it's tempting to put that S onto the E, but it's attracted to that C because that skr sound, again, is a unit of consonants. And that ip, but we actually do break between the P and the T because the T takes on a special sound with the ION. So instead of T-on, it's shun. So that shun sound will stay together. And I think we have another one of those. Yeah, number 3 is a shun at the end. All right, how about stomach?
I will say 2, and I will put the S with the T-O, like so one, and the N, stomach, the other syllable. Good,
so that's stomach. And this comes from German. So that CH is going to make a K sound. So stomach. And all right, so good. We've got 2 syllables there, sto and muck. And how about information?
I will say 4 is very clear. Information.
Good. And that MA, that mation rather than mation. Very good. How about heart?
1. It's a diphthong.
Good. It's a diphthong, and that's a special diphthong. It doesn't make the A sound that EA usually makes. It's a heart. All right. Physiology.
I will say 4, and I will do a diphthong. So phi will be 1. Theo is a diphthong, and lo, another syllable, and a G, the last. Physiology.
Right. So we're very close on this one. The phi is a diphthong of its own. Y sometimes is considered a vowel, sometimes a consonant. Here it is a vowel. It's functioning as a vowel. So phi gives us 1 consonant, and then Z, SI, will stay by itself. The O is actually going to function as a syllable of its own. Physiology. And this has to do with its etymology, where it came from. It comes from Greek, and that ology means the study of. So because the morpheme is attached onto that physi, it's going to be like a negative magnet. It's not going to want to attach too closely. So physiology, we've got 5 syllables here.
Okay.
And that's
So
going to be important.
What are the diphthongs that you can construct in English? Because in Spanish, we have a rule for that, and in Spanish we have weak vowel that is e. So e, o, u. So we can make diphthong only with e and u, and the others will not make diphthong. So.
The rules for English are a lot more complicated than Spanish because we have our origin in German, Greek, French, and Latin. Latin through French. So because we've got those three main language groups, it depends where the word comes from.
Oh, that makes sense.
And that's very frustrating for learners of English because like the CH on stomach, the CH can have three different sounds. It can be sh, it can be ch, and it can be k. So you have to get familiar with it. Unfortunately,
where did it come from? Yeah, that makes sense.
Where does it come from? Yeah. So that physiology, this comes from Greek, which has a hard O sound. Those O's like to stay by themselves. So we've got the O and the A usually is the strong vowel, the I and the E are the weak vowels. U goes between it depending on whether it's a or U. And then the Y is the weakest vowel. Actually, I consider it as a 0.5 vowel, so that when we do stuff like adjectives, changing it to superlatives or comparatives, the Y only counts as half a vowel, so that we can make a clean rule of 2 or more takes more, 2 or fewer takes ER. We'll get to that Thursday when we talk about adjectives more. So yeah, that physiology, the ah likes to stay by itself here. And again, that comes just from how you hear it. So it's hard to look at a word in English and syllabify it. You have to think about, how have I heard other people say this word? So physiology, my first grade teacher would have us clap between the sounds. So physiology, and we can count 5 syllables there. All right, how about number 6, situation?
If we count vowels as the way that you pronounce, I will say situation.
Perfect, situation. And we've got 1 vowel per I, U, A, and then I, O. Because of the T, forms a special unit of the diphthong, shun.
Yeah.
How about emotion?
3.
3. Which vowel is going to be by itself?
Emotion.
So is the E alone or is the O alone here?
Is the E alone?
The E is alone, right? Very good. How about response?
I will say, I will put the S with E this time. Response. For me, I hear 2.
2. It is 2.
Because the E is the silent E at the end. Response.
Perfect. That E is silent, so that ponce or sponse is going to form 1 syllable. The re, it's a special diphthong, or not a diphthong, a special morpheme, meaning again. And we like to syllabify on the morpheme. So the re would probably be by itself in this case, because SP also forms a sp sound, and we keep those together. Again, this is our Greek background, that sp and the ps sound have their own letter in Greek. So they stay together. So response are our 2 syllables here. How about complicated?
4.
Good. Can you tell me where they are?
Complicated.
Perfect. Complicated. The ED ending is a weak ending. It can be a passive participle. It can also be a past tense verb. But this E, because it's a weak vowel, remember the I and the E is weak, it attracts the consonant. So even though it's its own morpheme, it's going to try to steal other consonants, so it can be a stronger syllable. And then we've got the com, meaning with, pli, meaning folds, and cated with the verb. So it's something with many folds. It's complicated. And we've got 4 syllables. Very good. How about theory?
I will say 2. I will put theo like a diphthong and the like the other syllable.
Perfect. Yes, that EO makes a diphthong. When you're reading it, it doesn't look like a diphthong, but when you hear it and when you say it, that EO makes an E sound, theory. So sounding it out, sometimes we might want to say theory, but an English speaker wouldn't understand in a sentence if you say my theory, right? They want to hear my theory. So like you said, that's a diphthong. That E and the O goes together to make an E sound.
And because I know the root of theo, and I assume that is what you just explained about the Greek. So
exactly, that theo.
In Spanish will not be a diphthong.
Exactly, it would not. That teoria would be
Teoria, yeah.
Teoria. Scientist.
2, science 1, and test the end. And I will, yeah, that is like the first syllable. I will cut adding the end. So science will be 1, and test, scientist.
We actually have 3 here. Again, that IE that usually makes a diphthong, here it's going to break the rule and it's going to go scientist.
Okay.
So that I and the E, they're pretty weak, and it's not making a C sound. Like if I have IE at the end of the word, it makes a Y sound. Here it can break because we've got 2 consonants, the IE, and then that NT, they need something too. So we've got the scientist, 3 syllables here. All right, these are challenging words, aren't they? A lot of them are scientific words, so they're going to have some Latin and Greek backgrounds. How about anatomy?
I see 4. I hear 4. Anatomy.
Perfect. Anatomy. Very good. That's 4 syllables. And let's check our work here. We saw the IO on shun, TION, makes that special diphthong. Whereas in the, where was it? Here, the IO actually breaks, physiology. So again, like you said, I like how you said on the last one, I hear 4. That's going to be really where the rubber hits the road for us. Where we hear 4, there are 4. But you can see each one is based around a single vowel. Situation, again, these special diphthongs, EO, EA, and a silent E on response. You got that? All right. Let's talk about word stress. So can I have you read this definition of word stress?
A syllable vowel can be stressed or unstressed. The stressed syllable is pronounced stronger, and the syllable vowel is lengthened. I don't know how to read that, making it stand out among other syllables in the word.
Good. So each word has 1, 2, 3, or 4 syllables, but one of those syllables is going to be stressed. It's going to be a little more prominent than the others. Often how this happens when we're speaking is rather than making one more pronounced, we make all the others less pronounced. So instead of having each vowel with its own strong vowel sound, they'll go to a neutral sound. So we'll look at some examples. We've got final, certain, publish, physical, individual, unnecessary. And notice we can go up for these syllables, but look what happens to the other vowels. If we look at physical, that fi, it has its I sound, but z, kul, that I and the A almost have the same sound. It's just this flat So final, that A sound, instead of an A or an it goes to final. Certain, publish, physical, individual, unnecessary. So we want to look at these syllables as the stressed syllable, but know that that comes with dropping the strong sound from the others as well. So, and this is almost purely based on the sound that you hear others using, because sometimes the stress vowel can change depending on whether it's a noun or a verb. So let's look at our word list again here and see if we can find the stressed syllable. So starting with description, where's the stressed syllable?
I will say the strength is in description, in the first one. In
the first syllable?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we stress the first syllable, it's going to sound like description.
Then it's in creep.
But here the stress is in script, description. So in the middle, we're going to have our up, description.
Okay.
And usually this will happen when we add these affixes to the beginning, d, re, in. They're going to be somewhat muted. Whereas the beginning of we call it the content morpheme, where the idea of the word is actually placed, that's where we want to stress it. Okay. So if I take out the word script, I can put different morphemes into here and change the meaning of the word in its content. But if I have description, that script meaning to write something, I think this comes from Italian scrivere, which is going back into Latin writing. Escribe, that script to write, description.
Actually, description is describe, describir, kind of too. See?
Escribir. Yeah. Sí. So in Spanish, again, the stress vowel is a little different, but here we want to put it on that content of the writing aspect of it. Description. Sí. All right. How about stomach?
I think it's in the stomach.
Right. Stomach. So it's in the first syllable here. You're going to find that most English words stress the first syllable, especially in their nouns. Adjectives, verbs, adverbs can change because they add on different endings. All right, how about information?
I will say, I sounds like the first, but you just say that no, when it's a prefix is not, but I hear information, like in is the stress.
You're right, it's not the first one, but this is kind of an odd one. That shun draws it out, so it's information. That MA is our stress, the information.
Okay.
All right, heart. This is an easy one.
Yeah, this is only one, so.
Only one syllable, so it's going to take the stress. When we get into the sentence and trying to figure out which word to stress, we'll see that words like nouns and verbs take the stress, whereas words like pronouns, prepositions, those will lose their stress. So heart is pretty much always going to be somewhat stressed. All right, physiology.
Is the O?
It's
physiology.
The O, right? Physiology, right? Situation.
I will say I hear too, situation, but not sure.
Yeah, we have it on the A, just like the physiology, situation. That shun likes to draw the stress towards itself. Emotion.
The same, then I will say emotion at the end, dragging the.
Right, with the O, emotion. Response.
In the middle, response.
Response, right, that response. The re often it'll be more like response, like we had description instead of description. The E lowers and it's description. Complicated.
I hear the first one, complicated.
This one is the first one, yes, complicated. How about theory?
It's in the first theory.
Right. In the first theory. And that has to do a lot with that Y being a weak vowel and the EO being a diphthong. There aren't really any strong vowels here. So it's going to go to that EO, E sound. Theory, the I is stronger than the Y. Scientist.
I will say in the middle too, the ein, scientist.
So that first syllable, psi, is going to get the stress. Entist is a little lower. So scientist, if I change the stress, it goes to scientist or scientist, which scientist doesn't sound as bad, but scientist is going to be the way that we naturally say this word. How about anatomy?
Is the second na?
Na, right? Anatomy.
Yeah, there are words that I hear very clear, other that is more difficult.
Yeah, and the faster someone speaks, the harder it is to catch where that word is stressed. But often when someone's speaking quickly, the only sounds you're going to hear are those prominent stressed sounds. And like you've mentioned already, Spanish is a very easy language to syllabify. It's got its consonants and its vowels. Each vowel takes on its own stress. English.
And we have rules for that. Even if you don't know the word, if you know the rules, you know how to stress the word. Even if it's a new and never heard before, you know how to stress because we use accent. And if there is not accent, that will show you what is the stress as well. Yeah,
it's a very common problem in English that a word doesn't sound the way that it is written. And that's why it's hard in English to learn phonics, because you'll learn what a letter sounds like, but then you'll see a different sound when you're actually reading. I call it out in the wild, reading a book or something, or watching a movie. The sound is actually different. A good example of that, my sister reads a lot of books. And when she was young, she would try out these new words with mom. And what was that word that she said? She read the word determined, and she told my mom, I'm determined to do this. And mom says, what is determined? Well, she had read the word and put the stress in the wrong place. So instead of at the first determined, she had put it in the mind, which learning a language for the first time, first language acquisition, you're going to have these natural grammar rules that you don't understand. So she sees that word mind and she recognizes it. She wants to put the stress there. But English likes to be complicated, and it puts it in the determined. So it's a natural problem, I think, that people have when they're coming to English. Is it's the rules of how you hear it trump the phonics rules. So that's going to be your homework, is going to be listening and to see if you can catch some words that you are surprised where the stress is put. All right, so we can see here, we've got the script, information, heart, physiology, situation, emotion, response, complicated, theory, science, and anatomy. Right, let's read something from the wild. Here's from a short story by Ursula Le Guin called The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas. And most of these words are going to be single syllable words. She writes with very short words. So it's going to make it pretty easy for us to go through and read it with good intonation. But look out, because some of these words are double syllables or even triple syllable words. So we're going to see if we can find out where the stress in that word is. So could I have you read this paragraph by Ursula Le Guin?
Each one goes along youth or girl, man or woman. Night fall, the traveler must pass down village street between the houses with yellow light windows and on out in out the darkness of the fields. Each alone they go west or north towards the mountains. They go on.
Very good. So we've got each one goes alone. Alone is a 2-syllable word. Where are we going to put the stress here?
In the end.
In the end, right? Alone. How about, let's see, youth or girl, man or woman? Where do we put the stress?
Woman. In the wo.
In the wo, right? The first one. And this one is an interesting one because we've got man and woman. We put the wo as the stress because that's what makes it different from man. So if I said man, woman, it would sound very similar, right? The wo means it's different than the man. So man, woman. Woman.
You are in awe. Wow. Woman.
Oh.
Wow.
Exactly. Whoa. Good, good, good. All right. Night falls. The traveler must pass down the village streets. Traveler, how many syllables in traveler?
3.
3. And where's the stress?
In the first, traveler.
Right. Tra in the first. All right. Must pass down village streets. How many syllables in village?
I hear 2. Village. Village.
Good. You hear 2. Where can I divide the syllable here?
I will say V is 1 and the N is absorbed by the end, the silence E, village.
So if I have to divide between 2 letters, what are those 2 letters that break?
I will say after the A, like village.
It's between the L's.
It's between the L's.
There's a special rule in English where 2 consonants will break apart for their syllables. So again, in Spanish, you would never break apart the L's, right? But here, we're breaking them apart.
Yes.
But in Spanish, they've got a special rule. The L's make a new sound.
Yeah, so, exactly. The double L is a sound, so you don't break it. It's the same that combination. We have a TR like you, and we'll never will broke that. Exactly,
exactly. So for us with these double consonants, a double consonant means a long consonant, and usually it's going to be liquid or labial, meaning with your tongue or with your lips. So the L's and the M's, if they're doubled, we can break them apart because they're double strength. We can give some of the strength to the I and some of the strength to the A.
Commitment.
Exactly. All right, so village, streets, how many syllables in streets?
1.
1, right? That EE makes an I sound, streets. And that STR and the TS is just English clumping together a bunch of consonants. All right, between.
2.
2, and where's the stress?
The N, tween, between.
Exactly, between. Tween gets the stress. When we're reading it fast, that B almost disappears. It's just a quick B, between. And that's what happens to the vowels. They almost disappear in every vowel except for the stressed vowel, between.
What are the consonants in English that you pronounce long so you can break in the middle? I know L, I know M, and
rule of thumb is all of them. If any are doubled, like if I have a double S, I can break that, except at the end of the word when there's a double S, because there's no vowel. So the rule is if there's a vowel on either side, it can break.
Like support, I can
support. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and stopped, STOP, stop, ped.
Okay.
Yeah, so standard rule of thumb, double consonants break.
Okay.
It's just more common in our language to have L's and M sounds.
I didn't know my battery is low. I just going to.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Oh, sorry.
No problem, no problem.
Give you a tour in the house. Sorry for the mess
House.
if there was something.
No worries, no worries.
Okay. Yep.
Are you good?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, so between the houses with yellow lit windows, how many syllables in houses?
I would say one. How? Maybe
House is one, but
maybe
houses,
it's two. Okay.
we're gonna take two. Yeah, and this house, because the E is silent, but when I add another S onto a noun that ends with an E, it's gonna attract that E to actually have a sound, houses. All right, with yellow lit windows, notice there's a little hyphen here between yellow and lit. That's when I've got an adjective plus a verb that's coming together to create an adjective. So it's telling you how something is lit. That lit is a passive participle or a past participle, they call it. So both can function as an adjective, but their meaning apart is different than their meaning together. So we need a hyphen. And the hyphen will change also the stress. So that lit is not going to be as prominent as it would otherwise. So the yellow lit instead of yellow lit windows. So let's try that one. How many syllables in that word phrase, yellow lit?
Three.
Three. Yellow lit. Where does it split?
Then I will cut in the middle of the L. Yellow lit.
Good. And where's the stress?
I will say at the beginning.
Right at the beginning, yellow lit. And that's why it steals that lit. Because otherwise lit alone would be a stressed word. But because we have that hyphen, it kind of steals the prominence of lit. And windows. How many syllables?
Two.
Two syllables. And where do I want to break it?
This is tricky.
This is tricky. This is tricky. Well, if we have the word just wind, then that's one syllable because we've got the I. And there's nowhere else for the D to go. But here, I have an O. So there is somewhere else for that D to go. So it doesn't have to stay together with the N. So here we can.
You put with the O just because will be a little awkward. Say win O's. Nobody say win O's. So
Exactly.
you say windows.
Windows.
So I will put the D with the O just because you don't hear win O's, but you hear windows.
Good. Exactly. And I would agree with you 100%. You got windows.
But it's tricky.
It is tricky. It is tricky. And that's the consonants really make it very challenging because they can clump together, but not always. All right. And on out into the darkness of the fields. Darkness. How many syllables?
Two.
Two. And where does it break?
After the, before the end, dark is one color and ness is a suffix. So happiness, darkness. So I knew that will be dark and ness.
Very good. Yes, this dark and ness is a suffix which makes an adjective a noun. So that ness has enough strength to stand on its own, and dark is going to stand on its own. All right, the darkness of the fields. How many syllables in fields?
I will say one.
One, and why is that?
It's absorb, feels.
Exactly. Fields, that IE is a diphthong. So there's only one vocalic in here. It's all going to go into that one vowel. All right, each alone, they go west or north toward the mountains they go on. How about west?
One.
One syllable. North.
One.
One. Towards.
Sounds like one.
It does sound like one. W is a tricky consonant because it comes from vowels. It's like Y. It's kind of like R as well. R can sometimes have almost a vowel quality to it. It's still going to be a consonant because if I want to stress this words towards, I'm going to make it two. But when I'm speaking, the W almost drops out when it's between two consonants or two vowels. So W is a weak consonant. Towards can sound like one if I stress it towards. And this actually comes from consonant or not consonant, prepositions coming together. Ward means in the direction of. So if I'm going homeward, I'm homeward bound. That word means in the direction. So to the direction, homeward, toward, I'm going in the direction of the mountains. So toward the mountains, how many syllables in mountains?
I hear two.
Two, there are two, and where does it break?
I will say after the N, like mountains.
Right, mountains. And it's frustrating, right? Because mount is the content morpheme here. But when I have the A-I-N-S, it's going to steal that T. So mountains.
Okay.
All right, they go on. All right, so let's just confirm what we've got. We had each one goes alone, da 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 da. Syllables. Notice how many are one or two syllable words. And this has more to do with her writing style. She wants it to be choppy. She doesn't want it to sound complicated. These are very simple statements. So she's going to use simple words. They break after one or two syllables. She only uses two three-syllable words, traveler and yellow lit. Well, yellow lit can even be a two-syllable word because yellow and lit, she had to put those together. So really, she only used one three-syllable word that's a pure three-syllable word. But we're going to see something different with our next writer who's going to use mostly two and three-syllable words. And then we looked at the stress, woman, village, houses, window, darkness, mountains, traveler. Most of her words have stress at the beginning. These words mostly come from German, some from Latin, very few Greek-based words here. Those are going to have their stress at the beginning. Whereas these between, towards, and yellow lit, I put the yellow lit wrong. Between and towards, these are prepositions. And they're combined prepositions. Their sound is going to be towards the end. And that's usually because a preposition has a noun phrase after it. So its stress is going to be towards the end. All right, you might know this guy, Jorge Luis Borges. Yeah, he's my favorite writer. So I included from Tigres Azules, but the English version.
Wow, I never read in English.
It's complicated in English or in Spanish. It doesn't get easier in English for me.
Well, in Spanish, I love it. In English, it's going to be hard. I can see.
It is, but this comes from his very last book. I think 1986, he wrote it. This is from the story Tigres Azules, and he's talking about mathematics. So it's going to be some complicated vocab, but keep in mind, his background is Spanish.
Yeah.
The story was written in Spanish, so it's going to have a lot more Latin-based words. So we're going to pay attention to that because our Latin-based words are going to be higher vocabulary in English, whereas our German words are going to be lower vocabulary. So Ursula Le Guin, who we just read, she is writing to English audiences who are going to be more comfortable with German sounds, whereas Borges is writing to a more academic crowd, which is going to be using more Latin-based words. And when we get to essay writing for you, you're going to find that your Spanish is actually going to help you because you're already going to be familiar with many words that are higher vocabulary in English because they're your natural words in Spanish. It's the day-to-day speaking I've found that's normally harder for ESL students because we use mostly lower German words speaking. All right, so let's start with Jorge Luis Borges from Tigres Azules. Can you read this?
The same yearning for order that has created mathematics in the first place made me seek some order in the aberration of mathematics. The insane stone that propagate themselves. Sorry, it's tough for me.
They're big words. They are bigger words.
I attempt to find a law within their unpredictable variation. I devote my days and nights alike to establishing a statistic on the change. From the stage of my investigation, I still have several notebooks invenely filled with ciphers.
Very good. A lot harder than the Ursula Le Guin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's take a look at some of these words. Same, just a single syllable word, but how about yearning? How many in yearning?
2.
2, and where's the stress?
In the beginning,
yearning. And that N is going to attract to the ing. So yearning is going to be our sounds. Yearning. For order. How many sounds in order?
2.
2, exactly. So order, and where is the stress?
At the beginning too.
At the beginning. Order. That had created mathematics. Created how many?
I see 3. I hear 3.
3, exactly. And where can I find those 3?
Created.
Good. Created. That A is going to be by itself. When I'm looking at it, it looks like a diphthong. But when I hear it, it's not. So that's why we got to be careful. The hearing is going to be more important than the reading.
And because that probably comes from Latin, I know it's 3. We in Spanish will be 3 too.
Exactly. Perfect. So yeah, his vocabulary is going to be more Spanish based. So it should be easier for you to read a technical essay than fiction, honestly.
Okay.
All right. Mathematics has 2 pronunciations that are perfectly correct. So you can choose mathematics or mathematics. Sometimes we skip the E.
Okay.
In America, often the E, or in USA, Canadian English, the E drops out, whereas in Australian or England English, that E is going to be more pronounced. And that just has to do with dialect. But if you say mathematics, no one's going to question it. If you say mathematics, no one's going to question it. So this one is a tricky one. It has either 3 or 4. No, mathematics. Yeah, 3 or 4. Yeah. Mathematics or mathematics. And that TH, depending on how you choose to pronounce this, is either going to go with the A, mathematics, or with the E, mathematics. That's a complicated one. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
All right. First place made me seek some order. So first, how many syllables?
Only 1.
Only 1. Place.
1.
1, but I have 2 vowels. Why is it only 1?
The N is silent. Place.
Silent. Perfect. Made. Same rule.
Same.
Right? Me seek.
1. Seek.
1. Seek. Some.
The same. Only 1.
Same, right? So a lot of those 1 syllable words have a silent E. So we just have to be careful not to make it its own syllable. So they make me seek some order in that aberration.
I see 4. Aberration.
Perfect. And you split the R's, which is perfect. Very good. 4 syllables. Of mathematics, the insensate stones. What is insensate? How many?
I hear 4. Inside say. Maybe 3. I will say the last is silence and it's absorbed.
Right. The last is silent, absorbs into the next. So insensate. And that A becomes an A instead of A because of the E. So that's technically you can look at that A and the silent E as a diphthong, but it's split by the consonants. But the E tells me that the A is going to be long. So insensate, stones, how many syllables?
Stones, I hear 1.
There is 1. Now remember with houses, with the silent E and the S now makes 2. Here the rule doesn't hold, right? Stones. So again, listening is always more important than the reading. Stones, 1 syllable. That propagate themselves. Propagate.
I will say 3 because the E will be not hearing. So
yeah, the E will be silent. So we've got propagate, 3 syllables. And where's the stress here in propagate?
At the beginning.
Right at the beginning.
A ver, déjame un momento. Propagate. So it's in the beginning.
Perfect. It's right in the beginning. How about themselves? There's 2 syllables here, but where's the stress?
At the beginning, to themselves.
This one,
I'm not sure.
Don't worry, this is kind of a tricky one because it's going to depend where we're stressing our intention. The natural stress is at the end, themselves. Okay. But if I'm stressing that it's not these people, it's these people, then I want to stress themselves.
Okay.
So that's why it's important to learn where the natural stress is, so that when we break the rules, someone pays attention to us. So if I want to stress themselves, I'm going to put themselves. And now that's the word in the sentence that someone is going to hear. All right, I attempted. How many syllables in attempted?
I hear 3, attempted.
There's 3. And where's the stress?
In the tem.
In the tem, right in the middle there. Attempted. To find a law. How about find?
1.
1 and law.
2. Law is 1.
2. And that you can see also with this W. Remember the W is a weak consonant. We don't have to say that sound, just law. Within their unpredictable variations. How many syllables in within?
2.
2. And remember, when I have a compound preposition, where's the stress?
At the end.
At the end, within, to the in. There, how many syllables?
1.
Right, that EI is a diphthong, making an A sound. There. Unpredictable, how many sounds?
1, 2, 3, 4. 4.
I think there's 5, but this ABLE is always a very tricky one because the BLE, even though the E is silent, it has the quality of a vowel. So that's going to be its own syllable. So we've got unpredictable. 5 syllables. And that bull, it has a U sound in it, even though there's no U. That's why the sound is always going to be our dictator. But we're okay to break this rule because it still has an E in it. So there's still a vowel in that syllable. All right, variations.
I'm sorry, I need to excuse today, if you don't mind.
No problem. Okay. Oh, we're past time. Sorry.
Yes, and normally I will not have problem, but today I have this appointment. And I know that we also were at the beginning explain things that were not from the class. But has been really a good class. I really enjoy and I learning.
No problem. This is actually our last thing that we were doing. So we're done. We were just practicing.
Can you just read by yourself? So when I hear the good pronunciation of this test, please?
Yes, I can do that. if you want to sign out now, I'll go through and I'll read these so you can hear them, and I'll post the video and you can go to the end and find them.
Perfect. Thank you very much. That will be awesome.
Good, good. I'll see you on Thursday for essay writing.
Gracias.
No problem.
Adiós, Ben. Muchas gracias. Ha sido muy buena la clase.
Bueno, bueno.
Gracias. Chao.
Chao. All right, so I'll read this for you now. Jorge Luis Borges is Tigres Azules. The same yearning for order that had created mathematics in the first place made me seek some order in that aberration. One second. Okay. The same yearning for order that had created mathematics in the first place made me seek some order in that aberration of mathematics, the insensate stones that propagate themselves. I attempted to find a law within their unpredictable variations. I devoted days and nights alike to establishing statistics on the changes. From that stage of my investigations, I still have several notebooks vainly filled with ciphers. So if you go through this, if you have time this week, just matching how many syllables in each word, put them into categories of 1s, 2s, or 3s. Remember, we had a 5 in there, so it can be a bit challenging. And then you can check stress just to make sure that you hear the stress in the same place that I've got the stress noted here. And pay attention also. Remember, he's coming from a Latin background, so he's not going to have all of his words being stressed from the beginning. A lot of them will be stressed in the second, third, or even fourth syllable because, well, as you know, Spanish word stress starts at the end of the word and then is pushed back towards the front. English usually starts at the front and is pushed towards the middle and towards the end. Then I've got one more exercise for you here, and this is your homework practicing. See if you can match these into their correct boxes: illustration, illustrated, publish, publisher, text, illustrate, published, textually, and textual. And remember that some of them can go in more than one category. So try to put these in their correct categories. And then this is going to be homework for you as well. See, this is practice number 2. So for your homework, this is a much simpler reading than we did in class, but try to divide these words into their syllables and then indicate where the stressed syllable is. So I'll read this for you so you know how it sounds. So this is from Oscar Wilde in his book, The Picture of Dorian Gray. This is from page 1 of his book. It's the opening paragraph. The studio was filled with the rich odor of roses, and when the light summer wind stirred amid the trees of the garden, there came through the open door the heavy scent of the lilac, or the more delicate perfume of the pink flowering thorn. So go through this paragraph, see if you can read it to yourself a few times and feel comfortable with stressing the words in their appropriate places. Count how many syllables in each of these words that I've noted above, and where's the stress. There's only going to be stress in first or second syllables. I don't have any third or fourth syllables, so it should be pretty easy, just choosing between one or the other. And that is the end of these slides. The slides are going to be on the website for you so that you can review the slides individually. And I'm posting the video as well, so you can check the video also. All right, so I will see you Thursday at 2 p.m. for essay writing. We're going to start with grammar for words. So we're going to do especially nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. If we have time, we'll talk about prepositions as well. just giving you some basic rules about how they're formed and how they're used. We're going to call those the open class words. Nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs make up 99% of the vocabulary in English. So if you can master those rules, you're going to know how to use almost all of the words that you encounter. So we're going to start with those, and then we're going to, the next week after that we meet, which won't be next week, but possibly the week after or the week after that, since you have a missions trip. We're going to actually practice some writing, but first we're going to start with grammar, and then every other meeting we're going to do some grammar, and then the in-betweens we'll do some writing. So hopefully that'll get you ready for your CBEST test, but you did an excellent job tonight. I'm really impressed with how well you read and how well you were able to identify syllables and word stress, and we'll keep practicing that, but you can consider this first class finished. We're not going to be studying word stress and syllables anymore. We're going to be using it. So you can take a breath of fresh air, do these exercises if you have time, and we'll talk about them on Thursday. All right, I had a great time, and I will see you on Thursday.